All right. Good afternoon,
Ah,
Who That Nation. Welcome to the WDN Chat Line Podcast. This is the host CB, and I'm here with my co-host Miss Carla. Um, what we're going to do? We decided not to go live because we waited too late to to do the recap show. We had things come up, but it's preseason, and other than that, it was not too much to take away from the preseason game. To me, a lot more negative than positives when we
yeah.
looking at backup players, but it was some positives that we seen from our first round draft picks and Will Lutz. But we will get into a few players and break down the game. But yeah, it really wasn't too impressive on my end. Um, but we will give our thoughts and opinions on that. So that's what we're going to do. Once again, hope you guys having a great Sunday afternoon. So what we will do is break down the offensive side. As you guys know, the offensive side. Then we'll go to the defensive side, and that's how we will do this. So let's just go ahead and start with the elephant in the room. Ian Book. Ian Book was given a full go Friday night, played the entire game. So they got a full evaluation on him. So I can let Miss Carly start on him and give her thoughts on Ian Book. So Carly, what's your thoughts on Ian Book?
First off, let me start off with some offensive stats for y'all. Ian Book had 16 of 28 for 113 yards. He had one touchdown, one pick, and one lost fumble. But he also ran for 49 yards. And like you said, yeah, we got to see him in his full capacity and everything that he can do. You know, we seen at the end of the game, he tried to turn the Jets off, tried to turn the Jets on and make some plays for the team. But for me personally, it was too little, too late for me. The game was we had entirely too many turnovers, too many fundamental mistakes. So at that point, it was just like let's just get the game over. But out other stats on the offense, we had a Zigbo. He was averaging 5.7 yards a carry. He had 7 carries for 40 yards. And we had Tony Jones Jr. He had 4 carries for 19 yards, 3 catches for 20 yards. And then he also had a screenplay that probably would have ended up in a touchdown for him had Cesar Ruiz not been pushed into him and pushed him out of bounds. Chris Olave, he got his first NFL touchdown. So that was pretty cool for him. And then also we had Kevin White with one catch for 18 yards, and Quine Baker had 2 catches for 13 yards as far as the offense goes. But back to Ian Book, I just want him off my team. So when they said that we waived a quarterback and it wasn't Ian Book, I was just like, that wasn't the quarterback we was looking for, but I understand us needing 3 of them. So um it wasn't the best showing for Ian, but it was Ian. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he's either gonna be on a practice squad or he is going to go to maybe the XFL or the Canadian Football League. I don't know, but I just don't want him on my team anymore. Like he has been a disappointment, and to let him play all 4 quarters, to let him take control of a game and to see that he still didn't improve from game one, it was a disappointment for me at the quarterback position for Ian Book. But I understand why he is a third string. Like we all know, Ian Book was Sean Payton's guy. Sean Payton is no longer here, so whatever Sean Payton had for him, that's thrown out of the window, and it ain't working with DA's system, in my humble opinion.
Okay. Ian Book, he was given a full game
Mm-hmm.
um to try to correct the mistakes he had in the first preseason game. It's no excuse. I mean, he had an entire game, um, and he really didn't show anything better from game one. Carly read out the stats. Um, Really, he was more effective in the in the rushing attack. But other than that, in the passing game, he had a nice throw to Chris Olave, but um, I'm not gonna say that I'm upset with Dennis that he didn't allow Dalton to play because I know you wanna we know Jameis is they taking it slow with him. I just wanted a quarterback in there that can at least give our backup receiver some good looks. Um, just that one play with Olave, we pretty much know he's going to be getting catches like that. But with the other guys and Book, he didn't give these guys opportunities. And I say it's a little vice versa too. The receivers gotta break off on their routes and get open. But just with Ian Book, he hasn't allowed to give these receivers a chance to showcase their abilities. Um, so that's kind of a knock towards guys like a Kawan Baker, um, Kevin White. I'm really not too much of a fan. Um, but yeah, these guys that's trying to make the squad, Merritt and Kawan Baker, guys like them, I believe Andy Dalton would have gave them a better chance to go and catch the ball than Ian Book has. Um, really, no improvement from game one. Still fumbling at fumbling with the center. So he didn't have no type of communication improvement there. So yeah,
I
I
think
don't
the
know.
most frustrating thing for me was when our offensive line did give in Book some time in the pocket a couple times, and he still couldn't
Mhm.
throw the ball down the field. Like I don't know if I blame the receivers for not getting open, or if I blame him for when they weren't open but everyone was being covered, he didn't use his legs sooner. Like I
Right.
felt like there could have been plays that could have been extended. I think the most frustrating thing for me, what I mean by this is um when oh my god, who was it? He had the big run for us. They got us halfway down the field just for them to turn around and not do anything with it. Um uh I want to say it was Everett Smith. But anyways, when he had a really huge punt return, and for you to not be able to capitalize off that huge punt return, it was frustrating because again, the offensive line got you enough time in the pocket to look down the field or to use your legs, and you waited until the end of the game to start to do so. Like I said earlier, it was just a little too late for me.
All right. So pretty much no improvement from Ian Book. Had the entire game to right his wrongs and still similar results. Nothing encouraging that we seen. So it is what it is with that. I wish Dalton would have got at least 2 or 3 series in so we can see more. I mean, we can see these receivers get more better opportunity to catch the ball. But it is what it is. I don't know how they gonna go about game three. Pretty, I'm pretty sure M Book will get to play that game as well, and that's just due to protecting the other quarterbacks. I still think they going I don't even think he gonna get on the practice squad, but we'll see. We'll see. So, but as far as the running backs, you named out the stats for that.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Jones
Tony
had a
Jones,
decent game.
yeah, 4 carries for 19 yards, and he had 3 catches for 20 yards. He had he had a screenplay, like we said earlier, that would have probably would have been a touchdown for him had Cesar Ruiz not been bumped into him by the Packers guy. But to me, Tony
Mhm.
Jones Jr. has been the best running back in preseason out of every running back in the NFL. In preseason, Tony Jones Jr. has been the best in my eyes. And so I'm hoping he can still squeeze his way on the 53-man roster, whether that be the practice squad or on the team. But I've liked what I've seen from Tony Jones.
Okay. Yeah, Tony Jones. Yeah, he had a pretty good performance. And I mean, like, I don't know what the deal gonna be between him and Dwayne. Um, I don't believe both of them will be on the roster. Dwayne didn't play. I don't know if that was due to injuries or, they were just giving him rest. I don't see why they would give him rest when you got two running backs. When you got your number one and number two running back getting a rest. So he probably had a little nagging injury and they just set him. But we'll see, but I believe it's gonna be between those two, Dwayne or Tony Jones for that third running back spot. And I doubt that they keep a fourth running back. So one or the other will. make the cut, in my opinion. But we'll see. I mean, Tony Jones will be a valuable number three. Dwayne Washington, I believe Tony Jones the better running back, but Dwayne Washington has been excelling in special teams. Not no all pro, but he's been excelling in other areas, other than the running back. So I don't know. We'll see how they do with that. But great game by Tony Jones. It was a few positives. That was one of the positives. The receiver, we already know what Olave does with the minimum chances that he had. He gave us a little spectacular catch um, with what M Book could do, minimum that he could do. So shout out to Olave. We're gonna be seeing plenty more of that. So any thoughts on the receiver? Taysom had a nice catch, so excited to see what Taysom brings at the tight end position. So yeah, pretty much the receivers. Taysom had a good catch. Olave had a good catch, and other than that, Ian Book was unable to get the receivers a chance to make an attempt to get the ball. So that's just my view on the receivers. As far as the offensive line, Trevor Penning once again played. They letting Trevor Penning play during this preseason. That's a great thing.
My
Um,
favorite thing about Trevor Penning is the fact that he was what we always said that we wanted to see players do. He went from preseason game one to looking confused to coming back in a second preseason game and cleaning up those mistakes that he made from game one. He was a really big improvement from the first preseason, and I like to see that. He's learning and he corrected his mistakes and he looked a whole lot better. And not only that, he was rated one of the top offensive linemen by PFF in week one with 90 what 0.8. I know it's going to get higher this for this week's rating because he played better this game than he did the first preseason game. So I was happy to see him because he made those improvements and he looked like a stud. He was bullying those guys like he was playing big boy football.
right. So it's good. They letting them play. They letting them get his work in. They not treating them, you know, like he already done made his step in the league. And the same with Olave. But the thing with Olave is, I mean, the quarterback ain't been getting them chances, and they seen that. So that's why they kind of pull him out, earlier, way earlier than Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning, they letting him
Yeah.
earn his spot, and
Yeah,
that's
but and
that's what you
also
want
I
to
think
see.
it's honestly I also think we know Chris Olave is going to be on this team whether he played the preseason game or not. We know that Chris Olave is going to make this 53-man roster. With Trevor Penning, going back to training camp, he made so many fundamental mistakes that you needed to put him in the games for preseason so that he can see how fast paced the game is going up against another team as well and fixing those mistakes because it's only a
Mhm.
certain amount of things you can do when you go up against your own teammates. But when you go up against a different team, you can physically see the difference that you're making. And so for Trevor Penning, he needed these games because he was making a lot of mistakes from training camp to preseason game one and then preseason game two. We seen a completely different Trevor. So he needed this to better his game.
Right. So shout out to Trevor Penning. Definitely getting better. Definitely getting a lot better. And Ruiz, not to mention Ruiz had a great game as well. But we know these are backup players for Ruiz. So far as what Miguel Ruiz is gonna have to come against, the
Right.
dogs, the starters. So
Right.
I'm not about
Yep.
to.
That's why I didn't even mention him because
Yeah, yeah. I'm not definitely not about to be raving praise for him just yet.
right.
Need to see it against the starters. Okay, but on the defensive side, like I said, it wasn't a lot to reap praise about. Um, Carla, we
John
can
Bass.
start with Mr. Taco.
We gonna start with him second, actually. um, but you know what? We can start with Taco. Taco had 4 tackles and a sack. And To say he only got 28 reps, I believe, it seemed like he played a whole lot more. Like I felt like I seen him on the field the entire game. I mean,
Hmm.
his shirt was wrinkled. He had grass on it. He was soaked. But this he needed a big game because that defensive end room is loaded. It is loaded, and so he needed this game as well to try and make a name for himself to come out of the shadows because he didn't really make a name for himself in the first preseason game. Like we haven't heard him at all. So for him to come out again and preseason game 2 for 4 tackles and a sack, that's big for him because at the end of the day, he is a first round draft pick. This is his 6th year in the league and he on his 15th. So it's a fundamental thing. Um, I find it hard for him to make the team. Honestly, he is still on a bubble for me, but I can still see him squeezing in. He just needs to have another big game in preseason game 3. We also had John Bostic, who led the team in tackles with 6. He had a fumble recovery and a pass deflection. So he showed out as well. But for me, the defense really didn't do much because there really weren't that many guys out there that was, look at me. To me, the topic of the game and the people that stole the show was the special teams.
Right.
We didn't get to see any of the main starters on defense. Yes, we got Tuttle and Roach. We got them for a little while, but we didn't really see anybody on defense make a huge impact outside of John Bostic and Taco Charlton.
Right. That's it. That I mean, yeah, the secondary was getting lit up. They was letting Jordan Love
Yeah.
just dice him and slice
Yes.
him up.
Yeah.
Chase Hansen, he got in on a few tackles, but he didn't make no any highlight plays.
He,
But while he wasn't making plays, he wasn't getting beat out there.
right.
So so that
Yeah.
man it wasn't like he was getting beat this game. He just wasn't involved in he wasn't making plays this game.
Yeah,
But
special teams was the star of the game for us. For us, special teams was definitely it. You had Kirk Merritt, he muffled, but he turned that into a positive, and he gained some yardages off of it. And then he had a really good punt return on another play to give us great field position, which is what I was talking about earlier. Couldn't understand why I couldn't think of his name. But yeah, he had a really good punt return for us. And then, Will Lux hit a 60-yarder. And then you had Blake Gillikin, who had an 81 yard punt, which is insane. And mind you, today the NFL selected him for a random drug test because they're like, how do you kick a 81 punt? Like they didn't believe that. So they called him in randomly so that he can do a drug test. But special teams was it for this game. Like special teams stole the show. It was an offense. It wasn't defense. They didn't give us anything to really talk about. Nothing stood out besides how terrible. Like you said earlier, CB, this game had more negative than it did positive. Besides the special teams.
right. And really, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely great to hear about Blake and Will Lutz.
Yeah, because he's
But
back because Will
it's
left. He stayed out. He sat for a whole year. But also one more thing, and I promise I won't interrupt you no more. The reason why it was so important for me with the Will Lux and the Blake Gillikin 60-yarder and an 81-yard punt is because more times than none, people don't realize how important the special teams is because sometimes games come down to a kick. Games come down to a punt. And sometimes there are some games where we won't score touchdowns at all. Everything will be on the back of our special teams. So
right,
it's good to just see that we have guys that when push comes to shove, they got a good leg to stand on. Well, to kick on too.
right. So hopefully next week we're not talking about starters. Well, it's good. Will Lutz is good from him and Blake, but
Yeah.
during preseason you want to be discussing good things from the players that's trying to make the team in your
Right.
backgrounds. So we
Right.
shouldn't be here discussing. I'm saying that
Veterans
on behalf
and
of the team. We
hmm
shouldn't have to be here discussing minus Will Lutz because he was out last year, but talking about players that's actually been participating. But yeah, Blake Gillikin, yeah, hell of a punt. Um, but you want to be talking about your backups, and we didn't get none of that this game besides Merritt in the special team. Yeah, he had a hell of
Right.
a return,
Right.
and you can definitely see his speed. He had one catch at receiver, I believe it went right through his hands, but it just come down to the quarterback not giving the receivers no time on the defense, poor performance. So hopefully next game, things can get better. I believe next game we will probably see more of the starters play, because after next
Yeah.
week you have a week off and then the regular season starts.
Right.
So you probably see the first team unit get about 2 or 3 series in on both ends. So
But
for the
it's
ones that
funny because this is why I always said a quarterback is only as important as his receivers. Like a quarterback makes a receiver, and the receiver makes a quarterback. Because I feel like I felt like Ian Book would have had a better showing if he had Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry guys out there. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, you wish our starters was out there, and I guarantee you, if they were, we would be talking different about Ian Book. A quarterback is only as good as the people that they're throwing to, because they can't throw and catch, and vice versa with the receiver, whether that be running back, tight ends, wide receivers. It's just it all plays in together, and I'm hoping by week 3 we have something different to talk about, because we shouldn't be talking about special teams as the main show. And I also feel like this makes me feel like preseasons are just a waste of time.
Yeah. It depends. I mean, just the Packers game, yeah, this is definitely a waste of time. But I mean, we would love to be talking about guys that's making plays, that's not starters, because you want your depth to be, you want to have good depth.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
just see, we just gotta hope that the injury bug don't hit us severely. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I know today's Sunday, kind of late doing the recap show. I seen today the Saints was practicing in the dome, so they have
Yeah.
moved on, to the next opponent and
Yeah.
practicing.
Yeah.
But
I think Michael Thomas has an off day because Michael Thomas was not at practice today. Um, I also think maybe Taco has an off day too, because they didn't say he was waived or he was cut by the team. So I'm assuming certain guys have off days today, because there were a few
so you
guys who
you
had.
you think Taco playing like that, huh? To get off there.
Listen, I'm trying to look on the positive side of this, okay? I'm looking at the positive of this. I go where Taco go. But my fingers crossed he stay in the black and gold. But yeah, no, I
Well,
don't think he's
I
playing today.
mean, Granderson, Roach, they've been out there and hadn't been making no noise. And these is guys that was on the roster last year, and
Yeah.
these are backups they going against. So yeah, Taco, he gonna probably be in that conversation. Cause Tano was out there, they wasn't making no noise, and they
Yeah,
was
and
going
I had a
against
lot of
Denver.
there was a lot of people saying that he wasn't gonna make it because they thought Tanoa would get that last spot. But just like you said, because I haven't even mentioned that Granderson and those guys have been playing with the third
Yeah,
strings as well, and have not been making no noise against these other rookies on the opposite side of the team on ball. So that's a good point as well. But yeah, there are a few guys that didn't show up today. Maybe personal reasons, maybe off days. Who knows? But I'm ready to get this third game out of the way, which is going to be Friday at home against the Chargers, I believe. Um, I'm just ready for football, man. I'm excited to be back here with UCB. I'm excited to get back to talking with the guys when they come back. I'm just ready for football. Like, I'm ready to see what this team is going to do.
right. And this week we should see the ones out there for a few series, so we'll kind of get a little glitz and glamour of what
The
our
ones,
dogs is
no
back at
Usos.
the table. So yeah, that'll pretty much wrap things up. Once again, sorry for the delay in the recap, and just looking at other Saints podcasts and shows, it really wasn't too much to take away from this game, other than guys like Will Lutz. Good to see
Right.
him back healthy. Blake
A
Gillikin,
veteran.
Yeah, veteran player.
I'm so happy for Blake Gilligan because we all panicked. We panicked when Thomas Morstead left and went to the Jets and then the Falcons, or maybe that was vice versa. I stopped keeping up with him once he left. But we panicked, but Blake Gilligan stepped up to the plate from day one. And not to mention, because we didn't give Blake enough credit, Blake punted the ball, I think, 4 times this game against the Packers, and all of them went past 50 yards. So he has a leg on him. Minus the
Yeah,
81 yarder, he had one that went for 62 yards, and then he had two of them that went over 50. So he's a stud, and that's exactly why he got drug tested today.
yeah. I gonna find out that he ain't doing nothing, but that's what the NFL does. So but yeah, that'll wrap today's recap up. And far as next week Friday is the preseason game, so I'll be on
Mm-hmm.
Madden Wednesday night. Wednesday night probably around 9 Central Time. So you guys be on the lookout for that. And far as talking training camp, we don't recap this game. So far as training camp talk, we'll try to get a show in maybe on Thursday. If any training camp news that comes along. If not, we will have the recap of the Chargers game sometime next weekend. It'll be before Sunday, so just be on the lookout for that. And once again, shout out to the team. Shout out to Miss Carly for joining me today. And this
Always.
is WD and Chat Long Podcast, and we're out. Who
Who
that?
that?